Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my speech. This time is going to be presentation, PowerPoint. So you won't feed up with my face. You can still look at the screen, right? So you'll enjoy it much better than looking at my face the whole day and giving you a lot of thoughts, very technical language. So look at that. But I promise you one thing. If you give me your heart, your ears, your eye, and look to what's contained in my presentation, it will make your life much, much easier for the next speakers, those who are coming to speak after myself. Because what I've done, I've run through almost all the speakers' presentations, and I've seen the whole presentations just about the same theme, sustainability and how to push forward, how to make more progress toward the same. So I did, if you would, sort of a summary. So if you understand what I'm trying to say best, it will be much easier for you. Right? Especially some of the speakers will speak more than they're allowed to speak. So you start, oh, right? What a mess. So you can go for a quick coffee that day, or you can stand them. Sustained growth, fact or fiction? What do you think? Can we vote? Is it fact or something that we are just talking about, a lousy language? Fact or fiction? Fact? Excellent, good. So that's much easier. All right. What comes next? Whenever a nation or a company, a big company, talks about sustained growth, they must have two things together: sustainable development and inclusive growth. I would urge every one of you, probably heard a lot about the sustainability. It has become a real buzzword everywhere, every morning. You read it in the newspaper. But inclusive growth, this is something very new. It's not very new, but has become lately, because the political instabilities is happening globally. And the extreme within the same nation, too rich and too poor within the same nation, right? Even though they're experiencing a lot of GDP, like India, for example, expected to reach 9 to 11 probably this year, but there's a lot of people are not included in that growth. So that's a serious social, political, and economic issue is going to be. So whenever people talk about sustained growth, keep two things in mind: sustainability or sustainable development and inclusion, inclusive growth. Part 1, 12 slides, introduction. On the road to sustained growth, there's always challenges, right? Just like when you drive your car. There's a lot of challenges. You have to go for gasoline, you have to pay attention to what's coming up, speed humps, you have to do a lot of things unexpected. The biggest and the big challenge ever seen lately is the collapse of Lehman Brothers. Again, and I have highlighted this during my inaugural speech. October 2008, that was the real challenge when the Lehman Brothers announced the collapse, and everyone thought it's a US problem, then we thought it's a European problem, then probably part of Asian, but later on we discovered this is a global, because we are living in a very globalized, very global issues. So whatever happening on the north affects the south, east, west, right? It goes that fast, and goes because of the communication advancement. Things travel faster than ever. And this is 3 books I would advise you, those who love reading, to read. We've got our club called the Lean Book Club, one of the sustainable development program we have called this club. And I'm sure most of you heard about Lords of the Rings, right? There's a book called Lords of Finance, really advisable to read. So it will give you exactly what's happening, and it will give you a real look of the future. There's another one called False Economy and Free Fall. So we really advise you, those who are interested in reading, to go and grab one of them. Natural disasters. As you know, natural disasters, they've never been budgeted. We don't know when the act of God is going to happen. And the latest tragedy scenario is Japan. Before this crisis, Japan, as you know, was downgraded to the 3rd largest economy. They used to be the 2nd, then they were the 3rd. And you could imagine with this crisis, with this tragedy, what's going to happen to their economy. Expected to reach about $1 trillion US dollar lost. This is the initial indication, 300 billion lost. So you could imagine. So this is, again, one of the obstacles, challenges of sustainability. Wars and profits of war. We know about wars, but we probably don't know much about profits of war. We have a lot of them nowadays in the Arabic world. They think that God has sent them to kill people. This is what they believe in, and it's unfortunate. It's happening globally. If this cannot be stopped or seized, then again, there's no way that we can talk about global development programs or stability. So these things must be stopped. Global warming, for those of you for the first time hear about this terminology probably, who are not in the environment, it's an increase of the Earth's atmosphere, the temperature, right? So you could imagine what's happening. And they say the next 100 years, as you see here, this is what's going to happen. Mass extinction and bushfires and severe drought, which is, I think it's happening already now. We don't need to wait for 100 years because we're doing a severe damage to the environment, right? So we have to be real careful. Increase access to essential services, again, healthcare, education, clean water, right? And they say the next war is going to be war on water, especially in Africa. And you probably heard the day before yesterday when Ethiopia has announced their great dream, they call it. They wanted to build something so huge, so great to stop water from flowing to some of their neighboring nations, right? It was going to have a real implications and tensions in that area. So the world is not going to see stability if these things are happening and if we don't educate people enough. Poverty and hunger, about 4 billion people, as I said, they still believe that they're living in the great crash of 1929. They don't know what we're talking about. There are about 4 billion people living in less than $1 or $2 a day. You could imagine some Asian countries and Africans, they're living in less than $1. The coffee which we just had outside, it costs more than $10, if you would. You could imagine. A family will be living in that much, right? World population, 2050, expected to be 9 billion. So as I said earlier, it's not a matter of going to the future. It's a matter of what we're going to do in that future. So the future belongs to the children living nowadays. Children here and there, right? So we need to sustain that future to them by maximizing or capitalizing on the resources we're having now and leaving something for them. Totally different world, totally different world. If you go to the World Food Organization, this is what I have captured from their site. This is about over 820 million people will go hungry tonight, no food to eat. Yet, there's about 1.6 billion suffering from big stomach. They have too much to eat. They stop eating because they have just too much food. You see how extreme you're living? Very extreme. So no way that you can talk about sustainability if you have such things. What does those mean? We just can't face the challenges of the future with yesterday's tools. Yesterday. We have to have a new thinking process. We should have new tools. And this is why you people are here. You are the next generation. There's a lot of hope on you. The next generation is going to blame you if you don't do anything for them now. They're expecting solutions. They're not expecting your problems to be transferred to them, right? And then problems clearly indicate that you are not sustainable. And the problem's going to get worse unless business people, I always believe in business people, and you will see how. I have an example later for you. You are the people, you are quicker. Government, please write it down. Government process driven. You people, result driven. And it makes a big difference. Government takes it very easy, light, process, red tapes. You have red carpets for the investor, right? So it makes a big difference between the two. Sustainable development, part 2 is small, 5 slides only, come on. What is sustainability? This is sustainability. When you're able to transfer the smile from generation to another, if you have that ability, it's a fair share between the generations. As Dr. Zuhair rightly said this morning, meeting the needs of the present without compromising the future, the next generation, your kids' need, right? Whenever you talk sustainability, 3 things should come in mind: environmental, economical, and the social. And unfortunately, most of the meetings carries out in this country mainly, whenever you heard the theme of sustainable development forum or a congress or a meeting, either it's in universities or school or out in the city, people speak about the green. They feel that sustainability is only green, green solution. We have reached a point where everything has become green. I was sitting